Welcome to What's Happening. My name is Kate MacMahon, and I'm very excited to introduce you to my guest today. I have Lysetta Hurge Putnam, the Executive Director of Independence House. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kate. I'm really happy to be here and glad to join you and have this conversation today.
Thanks so much. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about Independence House, the background?
Sure. Independence House has been on Cape Cod for over 40 years, and our background is that we were founded by residents of Cape Cod over 40 years ago who recognized that there was a problem on Cape Cod, the problem being one of domestic violence, and that there were no resources really for, at that time, mostly women who were in a dangerous situation. So a small group of women got together and started what was Independence House many years ago. And so that 40-year plus mission has remained the same, with the exception or addition, I should say, of work that addresses sexual violence. So we're an organization that supports, empowers, victims / survivors of domestic and sexual violence. And what we mean by support is pretty broad. Because support is different for each person that may experience sexual or domestic violence. So some of the ways that we support survivors include advocacy. So there could be court advocacy, for example, for individuals that are wanting that type of support. So that would be a protective order obtained in one of the district courts on Cape Cod. They can also be assisted in the probate court. So that is one type of support, and it's not the only thing. There might be other types of support that survivors need and ask for. So it could be counseling, support groups, connections with other resources. One of our programs is a transitional housing program. I always want to be careful. It's a smaller program. We don't have tons of housing, but we do recognize that is a need that survivors have. Of course, we have an emergency domestic violence and sexual assault shelter for folks that are in danger and are fleeing and really need to be not in the situation that they're in. So we provide that. We're located in Falmouth, Orleans, Hyannis, Provincetown. So we're across the Cape. We also, of course, community education, prevention, and outreach is an important part of the work that we do. So that includes, collaborating with our community partners, friends, anyone in the community. And what we do actually is provide information about domestic and sexual violence, how to recognize it, what to do, how to get help and support. And so that is not a service, component. It's more of an educational and prevention component. And so part of our work is working with what we call, or what people call underserved or marginalized communities. So, working to prevent domestic and sexual violence. And we have collaborations right now within the people that have disabilities, so to try to prevent sexual violence within those communities. So we, in a nutshell, we have community-based and residential programs. So there's stuff that we do in the community for people that want to come into our organization for services, or and including the court program. And then we have the quote unquote, what people call residential programs. So that's like the shelter and the transitional housing programs, and then our prevention, outreach, and education. And as I said, within those programs, there are things like, safety planning that we do with folks, connecting them with resources. And so that's like those are the major components of the ways that we support survivors.
What wonderful work. That's amazing.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
I bet. But also must be very needed with a legacy of 40 years.
Yes, it certainly is. Absolutely. Unfortunately, domestic violence and sexual violence hasn't been solved yet. Of course, it's our vision, it's our dream. I think all of our dreams that, one day that will not be an issue in our community or in our country or in the world, but it still is. And so what we offer is that resource for, survivors that really have to go through that. We also work with children and teens as well. I don't want to forget to mention that. So
Mhm.
children who witness domestic violence are also, supported at our programs. And so, our staff can work with kids and also teens as well. And we have a homicide survivors program as well. As you know, we've had a couple of homicides on Cape Cod, sort of very close together in the last couple of years. And so we definitely are there to support those folks, their family members that are left behind that might want that support, friends and things like that.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're here today to talk about a specific event that is coming upon us pretty quickly, September 30th of this month. And it's to kick off Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yeah. This is always an exciting and uplifting event for all of us at Independence House. We really look forward to doing it every year, and we've been doing it for this event for over 20 years at Independence House. And usually we do it in the month of October because October begins Domestic Violence Awareness Month to bring attention to the issue so that there's a good understanding that, there are still folks that are experiencing domestic violence and that our community needs to support them. So that's really part of what Domestic Violence Awareness Month is about. It's a major awareness campaign that's held nationally every year. And so this year, instead of doing it in October, we wanted to do something different and kick it off in September to really get things going. So that is what we're doing, and it's taking place on September 30th. And, we always have our tradition is that we have, at least one person who is a survivor of domestic violence that has worked with our organization and identifies themselves as such, and they speak and share their experiences. But we also bring in additional guest speakers who may be sort of nationally known, where they themselves are, have gone through domestic violence, whether it be in childhood or, during their adult years. So it's an uplifting event. We want the public to come. It's at the Cape Cod Resort and Conference Center. It's free, but of course, because a lot of our work depends on fundraising and donations, I would really encourage anyone that's listening or watching this program, please come and please donate. We appreciate any amount you want to donate is fine. Most important for us is to get the message out, and for our survivors that speak to sort of share their triumph is how we like to think of it over domestic violence, but for the community to also show support, that we're a community that cares, that we understand. And if you live on Cape Cod, we're here for you, and anything we can do to be a part of the solution. That's really the message we want to send. We also use that breakfast to honor the lives of survivors of domestic violence that were killed in the last year leading up to the breakfast. So we take a moment to do a moment of silence, read their names, candle lighting, and just acknowledge that these are people who had lives and it's now snuffed out as a result of domestic violence. So we want to just mark that and to also call attention to the fact that, people are still dying from domestic violence.
Right, right. So it's on Friday, September 30th, and it's at the Cape Cod Hotel. And pardon me?
I said in Hyannis, yes.
Yes, in Hyannis at 8 o'clock. Yes. And people, if you are able to attend, you can register at independencehouse.org.
Correct. Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers today?
I think for me, whenever I talk about Independence House, I always want anyone that's listening, watching, to be aware that we're there and that we're a resource. And if you know anyone that's in a situation of domestic violence or sexual violence, please let them know about us and encourage them to reach out to us if they so desire. No one has to give their name if they call and just want to ask a question. We have a website also, the one that you just identified, independencehouse.org, and we have a wealth of information on our website if people want to go and learn more about us. Additionally, we also, we're on social media, Facebook and Instagram
Yeah.
and all of those. So follow us on Facebook as well. So absolutely, it's really for people that are in a domestic or sexual violence situation. The message I want for them is, that we're there and we're able to assist you. And we're not a one size fits all. It's whatever you need. We'll try to work with you to support you.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And until next time, my name is Kate MacMahon, and thanks for joining us for What's Happening.